Hello, I'm Scott Wrighton. I'm Decatur City Manager, and it's my pleasure to bring you these weekly updates about what's going on in your city government. As you have perhaps seen on local media, we are welcoming next week the newest member of the Decatur City Council. He is Dennis Cooper, one of the 11 people that submitted their application to serve on the City Council after the resignation of Rodney Walker. He'll be sworn in at the regular City Council meeting, which will be on Tuesday, the 7th of September, instead of on our normal Monday, because Monday is the Labor Day holiday. Mr. Cooper will finish out the rest of Rodney Walker's term, which runs through April of 2023. That same City Council agenda on September 7th will include a contract between the city and a consulting agency that will help us to more effectively study the Decatur workplace. If you've been paying attention, I'm sure that you know that there are hundreds and hundreds, well over 1,000 actually, good paying jobs going unfilled here in Decatur. Now there's lots of different reasons for that. There is sometimes a mismatch between the skills that the employer requires and the skills that the prospective pool of employees might bring. Richland Community College, Workforce Solutions, and others are working to bridge that gap. They've been very effective. They've received a lot of grant money for that, but there's still more work to be done to make sure that the people who are making jobs available get the people trained in a way that they can be stable employees. There's also a reason that's related to the fact that sometimes in some certain positions, not all, the compensation and benefit structure might not be good enough to attract the kind of long-term employees that the employers want. And there are several other factors too that influence this gap, such as childcare availability, changing school schedules that make it harder for adults to make commitments for jobs when they don't know what's going to be happening with their school-aged children. There are certainly a wide variety of other recruitment techniques that could also influence the situation. So what we're going to be seeking to do in this contract with the company called Key Strategies is to go beyond the phrase that we've all heard, well, there's plenty of jobs out there, go beyond those generalized statements and more closely examine exactly what it is we need to do to identify the people who've been idle, to make sure that they can be a good steady match, to work with employers and understand their needs a little bit more precisely and how they can be accommodated as well. In short, to really do a deep dive analysis into the entire Decatur workforce environment and the workforce ecosystem. We're doing this because the Mayor and City Council are committed to growing jobs in Decatur, and I am absolutely convinced that this can be accomplished. I am very optimistic about it. First of all, I'm optimistic because the City Council is willing to take this deep dive analysis into the various different aspects of the workforce situation here in Decatur, and thereby find solutions and fixes that are uniquely crafted to our situation. The other reason I'm very optimistic is that here in Decatur, we already have the industrial infrastructure to support additional growth of new companies coming to Decatur, like the Innova Feeds project that'll start next year, or expansion by existing employers. Almost all of our major employers are already hiring, and many are doing so very aggressively. It's just a matter of working out some of these things, I think, that will not only help us bring more of the people who might be idle now, but also attract more people to our community permanently to take some of these very good jobs. Another topic I'd like to discuss with you briefly today is a problem, really shifting entirely to a totally different subject, is a problem that our police department has with something we call pop-up parties. Sometimes in the late evening hours, early morning hours, residents will, not residents, but citizens from the town looking to party. We all like a party sometimes, but sometimes these happen in residential areas. And so while it's okay if they happen in a commercial area, as long as there's no destruction of property or violating other ordinances, that's fine, and police tend to tolerate that more. But when there's loud music, or there's horns beeping, or people carrying on in residential areas after 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, 1 o'clock in the morning, and so forth, then we get called and we have to deal with it. And whether they're disturbance of the peace or parking violations or alcohol on public property or whatever it is, we're going to continue to enforce these, primarily because we're trying to protect the residential integrity of these locations where pop-up parties occur if they happen to be in residential areas. It's one of the reasons we have municipal zoning, is to say, okay, there's commercial functions that should be over here, that they're an important part of our economy, but they shouldn't be allowed to degrade the residential integrity of our residential neighborhoods as well. So please know that the police will, to the greatest extent possible and to the extent that our staffing allows it, continue to enforce these rules, not so much because we're trying to shut down parties, we're really not. What we're trying to do is make sure that they don't destroy people's sleep and the residential integrity of residential neighborhoods when they are adjacent to some of the establishments, business establishments, liquor license holders that sometimes are related to these pop-up parties. Finally, I want to talk a little bit about masks and COVID and the entire public health situation that we continue to be in. Of course, it's very much a changing situation. It appears as though the Delta variant numbers should be coming down a little bit. That has been the situation in other places and in other countries, that as these variants happen, they spike and then they come back down. But that shouldn't keep us from being vigilant. Here at the Civic Center offices, and in fact all of our city offices, for those who are not vaccinated, we require the mask, and that got superseded by the governor's order that said, regardless of your vaccination status, we want cities to make sure that they require masks indoors. So one of the things that I think we've learned as a result of this whole pandemic situation that we've all been living with since March of 2020 is that there really is a great deal of variation and some discretion that needs to be given to different locations, different businesses. Some businesses have been very effective at implementing public health measures that are really customized and better suited to their particular business. One size doesn't fit all. We've certainly learned that. In fact, in a recognition of that, even the governor's office has said when a particular business establishment sets their own rules for masks or social distancing or for sanitation or other things, you should follow those. Even if one business didn't require you to have a mask on because there was enough social distancing, if another one does, you follow those rules. So even that acknowledges that there is some reasonable discretion about what those rules should be. With this round, the city has taken the position that we're not going to be proactively going out looking for violations. If somebody reports to us and makes a complaint that some particular public indoor location on balance is not having good public health, not necessarily because of masks alone or because of social distancing alone or because of a group, but because on balance it's really not a safe place, then we'll be checking those out and trying to determine if that violates the spirit and intent both of the state's laws as well as of the ordinances that the city council has adopted. Finding that right middle path that acknowledges the importance of public health and of keeping everybody healthy, getting vaccines, but not going to a legalistic extreme and requiring masks everywhere and being what people call the mask police. That's not our desire either. But it is to keep everybody safe and find that middle ground. And so that's the general way that we've done that, acknowledging that in different locations, different situations might apply where those specific businesses might be the most informed, the most knowledgeable about how to keep their customers safe. It's a changing situation, and as a result, we'll be flexible with it as we move forward. So in that regard, I ask that you be patient with us, but continue to give us good data that helps us make those decisions. So until next time, I look forward to these opportunities to share more information about what's going on with the city of Decatur. Thanks.